all of you here, regardless of the industry that you work for, regardless of how big your company is or where it's located, every single one of you, to create great employee experiences, just need to focus on three things. Every company around the world only needs to focus on three things. I like to think of them as three environments. You have the cultural environment, the physical environment, and the technological environment. That's it. Sounds simple, right? Three things. So let's look at what these actually are. The first one is the physical environment, the physical space. This is the environment that employees can see and touch and taste and breathe in. This is the cubicles or the open floor plan. This is the art that hangs on the wall. These are the people that you are surrounded by. These are the dogs that might be roaming down your halls. This is the catered food or the catered meals that you might be offering to your employees. The physical space is important. This is also where I like to include this concept of flexible work, because flexible work is, again, part of the physical space. So the physical space is crucial because nobody wants to work in an environment that feels like it's outdated. I mean, you live in 2016. When you show up to work, you shouldn't feel like you're being teleported back into the 80s. Right? That is the first way that employees start to resent the organization that they work for. Because they don't get excited to go to work. They don't get motivated. There's no spark. There's no, it's dull. It's boring. You just can't do your best work in that kind of a space. So the physical environment is really crucial for employees. So that's the first environment. Now, one of the interesting things about the physical environment is that it's not about an open floor plan versus a closed floor plan. I think there's so much debate spent around, well, should we have open floor plans or should we have cubicles? It's not about either of those. You need to have multiple floor plans. The progressive, the forward-thinking organizations out there have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different floor plans that are out there. So this isn't just about an open floor plan versus a closed floor plan. This is about having an environment that has multiple floor plans in it. I know we have somebody from SAP here. I visited SAP's offices in San Jose. They're a great example of an organization that does this. There are some areas that have cubes. There are some areas that have open floor plans. There are some areas that have a cafe environment. There are some areas where they're catered for learning, where you can write on the walls. There are some areas where you can go to have alone time and be in a little pod. They also have conference rooms. So regardless of how you want to work, you can pick the environment that you want to work at, regardless of how you're feeling during the day. Now, as I mentioned, I'm in the process of doing research on this, and my goal is to identify what are the top 12 to 20 questions that I can ask any organization to identify how effective they are at creating great employee experiences. And that includes culture, physical space, and technology. If I could only ask your company maybe like 15 questions, would it be possible for me to identify how effective you are in these three areas? Now, I'm not 100% done with the questions yet, but I can share some of them with you so that you can, in turn, ask yourselves these questions. And this is going to be on a Likert scale of 1 to 5. So the first question, do you offer multiple modes of working? Again, not just a closed floor plan or an open floor plan. Do you have multiple modes of working? Another question that I'm asking that isn't on this list is, are the values of your organization physically manifested and reflected in the physical space that you have created? In other words, if your values are trust and collaboration and innovation and fun, and you show up to work, are people sitting in 8-foot-tall cubicles just kind of like poking out like little meerkats and then ducking back in? Right? Is the physical environment reflective of the values that your organization actually has? And this isn't a very hard thing to test. You just got to walk around your space. Write down your values on a piece of paper and walk around and say, do I see trust? Do I see innovation? Do I see collaboration? Do I see fun? If you don't see those things, then your values, I'm sorry, are useless. Your values are completely useless because they're not reflected in the physical space that your employees actually work. So think about that. Are the values that your organization has, can you visibly see them manifested inside of your organization? The second environment is the cultural environment. Now, out of every organization, every executive, every employee I've ever spoken with, culture always comes up as number one. Culture is always the most important. This is the environment that you can feel. This is the vibe that you get from working for that organization. Now, the cultural environment is, of course, crucial. And culture includes a lot of different things. I mean, this can be a huge topic. It includes management style. Is it command and control, or is it more collaborative in nature? What is the organizational structure? Is it hierarchy, top down, or is it a little bit flatter in nature? Compensation, pay, benefits, all these different types of things fit in with corporate culture. But if there are a couple questions that I can ask your organization to identify how effective your corporate culture is, these would be some of the things that I would ask. Do employees feel a sense of purpose? That's a common one. We always hear about that. Unfortunately, most organizations stop there. And they say, great, employees feel a sense of purpose. We have a great corporate culture. And they miss out on the other questions. And there are 3 others that I'm actually adding to this that I'm finalizing. But the other 2 questions we need to consider are, do employees feel a sense of worth? Do they feel valued at your organization? Not just do they feel a sense of purpose, but do they feel valued, like their contributions matter?
Hey, really quick, sorry to interrupt you, but did you know that 96% of the people who watch videos on this channel are not subscribed? Do me a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can get notified when more videos just like this one are released. And now, let's get back to the content.
And the third question I would ask is, do your employees feel like they're being treated fairly? Simple question, not very hard, but it's one that oftentimes organizations don't ask. They get very stuck on this sense of purpose that they forget to determine and ask if employees feel a sense of worth and if they feel like they're being treated fairly. The third environment, the technological environment. The technological environment, these are the apps that you use, the devices that you use, the mobile phones, the desktops, the computers, the interfaces. Oftentimes, this is where we hear about digital transformation. All of the tools that your employees use fit into this bucket of the technological environment. And I've worked with and I've spoken with a lot of organizations that try to create this really great place to work. And no matter how hard they try to create a great corporate culture, no matter how hard they try to create a beautiful work environment, if employees are using tools that are outdated, your employee experience is never going to be where it needs to be. Because employees aren't able to actually get their jobs done. They get frustrated, they get angry, they start to be disengaged, they find their own workarounds to do things. And I've worked with organizations that have these beautiful spaces that, quite honestly, have technologies that are literally from the 80s. And when I speak to employees about this, they are frustrated, they are angry. And it doesn't matter how great of a corporate culture you try to create, if employees don't have the resources that they need to get their jobs done, you're going to fight a very tough battle. So a couple questions that we can ask around technology. The first is the technology consumer grade? Not enterprise grade, consumer grade. So what do I mean by that? Consumer grade technology means, are the tools that you are giving your employees so beautiful, so modern, so useful that they would consider using something similar in their personal lives if it existed? That is consumer grade technology. It is so good that they would use something similar in their personal life if it existed. Second question to ask, is the technology available to everybody? Or is it just available to a small pilot group in the marketing or in the sales department? And the last question I would ask is the technology focused on business needs or employee requirements? Or employee needs versus business requirements? And I'll give you an example of what I mean. Organizations that focus on the business needs, typically what they do is they go through a checklist. So if you were to tell me that you wanted a car, I would say, well, what are your requirements for a car? You'd say, well, it's got to have a steering wheel, it's got to have an engine, 4 tires, air conditioning would be great, roof. And I would jot down all these things, and I would go build you some weird-looking contraption, and I would show it to you, and I'd say, here's your car. And you'd say, what the hell is that? And I'd say, what do you mean? I took down all the requirements that you said you needed and wanted. It's got a steering wheel. It's got 4 wheels. You'd say, that's not a car. I can't drive that thing. Right? That's exactly what happens inside of our organizations. We are spending a lot of time and we are so caught up with focusing on these business requirements that we forget about the needs of employees. And this is why I think it's a very exciting opportunity, which, by the way, I think those of you in HR, this is the most exciting time to be in this profession. I think that the HR field is the sexiest, the most exciting function to be inside of any organization today. Because you guys are honestly, truly shaping the future of work and what it's going to look like. But I also think that this is a great opportunity for HR to partner with IT to deliver on these technology tools, to deliver on these technology experiences. So these are the 3 questions that I would ask around technology. Now, traditionally, organizations used to focus on one of these 3 things. Just culture, just technology, just physical space. Today, organizations are trying to focus on 2 out of the 3. So we have empowered organizations. These are the ones that focus on technology and culture. Enabled organizations, which focus on the physical and the cultural. And then we also have enabled organizations, which focus on the technological and on the physical. Now, unfortunately, none of that's enough. Instead, we have a new breed of organization emerging, which is the experiential organization. This is the one that must focus on all 3 in order to attract and retain top talent. It's part of what I like to call the employee experience equation. Culture plus technology plus physical space equals employee experience. If you do all 3 of these things, your employee experience will be great. If you do one or two of those 3 things, it's not going to be as meaningful. It's not going to be as impactful. So the employee experience is about focusing on all 3 of those things and doing it well.